Hello everyone, welcome back to part 3, and if you've not watched part 1 on how to install the Huffy YUV codec, please scroll to the top of the page and watch that. In part 2 we covered editing basics with VideoPad, so make sure you watch that too. That takes us up to the point where we are now. In part 2 we left off where we had rendered a rather large 5.5 gig 47-second video clip, and as promised we're going to further explain a little bit about bitrate and show you how bitrate affects quality, and hopefully come to a solution where we can choose the perfect bitrate, keep our file sizes as small as possible, and give our video the absolute best treatment and preserve as much original quality as possible. So I've written a program called Easy Encoder, and basically it's a series of scripts that access FFmpeg. Now FFmpeg is a popular X264 encoder these days, and it does a lot more than just encode video. It cuts them, edits them, adds thumbnails, you name it, it pretty much can do it. Very powerful command line tool. But I've simplified it with scripts, and after years of trial and error, I've come up with some rather impressive methods to control the compression, color, range, and well, let's get started. So what I've got before me is an example script which accesses through commands FFmpeg's source code. Now this one, I have it set at a high, what is called a constant rate factor or a constant quality factor. And typically, in the world of constant rate factors, a number of 18 would produce an almost virtually lossless image. Almost 100% that of the original, but substantially reduce the file size. And in this instance, we're going to show you the poor side, the ugly side, the incorrect side of compression. And what we're going to do, rather than give it the ideal constant rate factor number of 22, which is just my opinion, but it produces the absolute best quality in relation to the optimal file size. But for this example, this first example, we're going to compress a bit of this footage at a constant rate factor of 100, just to show you that compressing with an improper bit rate, the results that you'll get. So I'm going to run this, and these are easy to run. They simply just need to be in the folder of the file that you plan on processing. So it's in here. I'll double click it. It's now running, and you can see what we've got here is we are processing this video at 51 frames a second. Right? Our quality level is at 59, which is very poor. Our total file size for what we've encoded at this point is 600K, which is very tiny. And for every 50 frames we process, the total bit rate is at 322, and you see it varies. It adjusts the bit rate based on the color and movement information in the file. So I'll press Q to stop that. And here's what it's done. It's produced a file that is 30 seconds in length, and its size is 1.25 megs. That's substantially smaller than a 5.5 gig file. But we're improperly encoding this at a bit rate which is too low. So let's play it for a brief moment, and you can see what we get as a result of a poor encode, a bit rate that's too low. You see that it's having difficulty containing all the color. It can't track the movement properly, and there's just not enough bit rate to capture the data that we like. And as a result, you see this ugly, muddy image. Alright, so I'm going to increase or decrease that constant rate factor number to 50, where it just was 100. We're going to decrease it to 50 and delete this, and then we're going to run it again. Right? So let's run this. Same file, I just saved it. Let me delete that there. And edit that guy. We're going to reduce it to 50. Alright, now we're going to run it again for just a brief moment. And you can see now that our quality is at 51. Previously it was at 58. We're processing 51 frames a second, and our bit rate overall has increased just a little bit. And we're 14, 15, 16 seconds into the video. I'll let it run to 30 like we had before, just so we can have a comparison on the file size. I believe the other one was 1.25, give or take. So we're approaching the end here. Let me go ahead and stop it at 30 seconds, and we'll take a look at it at a constant rate factor of 25, and we only went up a half a meg. And you can see that we're still rather poor quality. We're still not hitting that ideal number as far as bit rate that we need. So I'm going to bring this down to 22, and I'm going to save that, and then at this point we'll delete our example there, and I'm going to run it again. And now you're going to see that our quality has dropped from the 50s down in the 30s, and this is about where it should be. We're processing 30 frames a second at a bit rate of about 7800K a second or so for the 29 frames per second that we're processing. So we're getting a better bit rate, and you see that these numbers are adjusting based on the particular scenes and particular frames that we're processing. And our file size has increased a little bit, but we're approaching the proper constant rate factor here. So I'll go ahead, let's let this guy play out to 30 seconds just again so we can get a fair look at the file size. But you can see that this processes relatively quickly, and we'll have a look at it here shortly in a few more seconds. 27, just about to get there. Alright, I'll stop that. And what are we looking at? We're looking at a 36 meg file now versus a 5.5 gig file. Let's play the original, the 5.5 gig file. You can see this is it, what we've rendered out of VideoPad. And then let's look at our copy. And here's the one out of VideoPad. Or this is the one that we rendered with the constant rate factor that is at 36.5 megs versus the 5.5 gigs. Now, the next episode that I put out is going to be to do the very same or similar using a all-in-one program called Handbrake. Handbrake is free. It uses the same methodology here, with the exception that you need to tweak a few settings and save those settings so that you can use them to produce repeatable results. With mine, I've pre-configured what I believe are optimal that will give you repeatable, pristine quality, the best file size possible for the quality retained, and look forward to that in our episode 4, where we go do some similar stuff with Handbrake. See you there. Bye bye.